President Bola Tinubu yesterday applauded himself after assessing his performance in the last 365 days, saying his government is walking the talk. President Tinubu, who also hailed Nigerians for 25 years of unbroken democratic rule, urged the citizenry to build a nation for generations unborn. The president spoke at the joint sitting of the National Assembly, where he formally flagged off the recitation of the old national anthem, Nigeria We Hail Thee. President Tinubu assured that his address would be on June 12th, which is Democracy Day. Meanwhile, the president yesterday signed into law the bill to revert to the old national anthem to replace the current anthem with the former, which was adopted at the country's independence on October 1st, 1960, but was changed in 1978 by the Olusegun Obasanjo military regime. The Senate President Godswill Akpabio stated this while addressing lawmakers at the joint session of the National Assembly yesterday. In his address, the Senate President urged Nigerians to familiarize themselves with the new national anthem. Meanwhile, the new national anthem was sung upon President Tinubu's arrival in the House chamber for the joint session. Back home in Akwa Ibom State, the state governor, Pastor Morno, has dedicated his one-year anniversary and the success of his administration to God for his goodness and for seeing him through 1 year in office, while extending his gratitude to Akwa Ibomites for their cooperation, his executive council, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, amongst others, for showing him full support and for harmoniously working with his administration. Governor Enquiry stated that his administration still remains committed to creating jobs and enabling environment for businesses to thrive, as well as forge new collaborations with the private sector to achieve the 8 lofty goals of his Arise agenda. Our Government House correspondent, Vonessa Harrison, reports that the governor, addressing Akwa Ibom citizens who were gathered at the Uyo Township Stadium to mark his 1 year anniversary, stated that to begin his second term, his administration is determined to implement projects in line with the 5 pillars of the Arise agenda, and announced the approval of 31 projects in continuation of the 1 project by local government area. The governor also assured Akwa Ibom citizens at home and in the diaspora to cooperate, support and work with him in love and unity as his administration works tirelessly to build a better Akwa Ibom while putting the state on the map nationally and internationally. The federal government has backed a pioneering move towards a sustainable and environmentally friendly future as it partners BBGISA Africa Limited to redefine the landscape of transportation and energy efficiency in the country. The cutting-edge solution is set to transform the transport sector by significantly reducing carbon emissions and enhancing engine performance through effective decarbonization, signaling a paradigm shift towards sustainable and efficient mobility in Nigeria. Director General of the National Council on Climate Change, Dr. Salisu Dahiru, said the project would result in greenhouse gas emission reduction and contribute to the nation's quest to achieve its nationally determined contributions. Olawale Akinwumi, the President and Chief Executive Officer, Green Plinth Africa Limited, project developer and strategic partner to BBGISA Africa Limited, said the BBGISA Power Capsule is designed to address one of the most pressing challenges in the automotive industry, which is carbon buildup in engines. Managing Director of BBGISA Africa, Garba Zakaria, said the innovation not only addresses the pressing issue of carbon emissions, but also provides tangible benefits to vehicle owners and operators. And talking legal matters now, the House of Representatives yesterday resolved to meet with President Bola Tinubu to find a solution to the worsening insecurity in the country as they contemplate whether Nigeria should hire foreign mercenaries to confront non-state actors who hold the nation to ransom. The House debated and adopted a motion of urgent public importance moved by the lawmaker representing Bakori Danja Federal Constituency of Katsina State, Abdullahi Dabai. Addressing the plenary, Dabai said the people of his constituency were living in fear owing to constant attacks by bandits. He noted that during the last Salah celebration, two brothers of a member of the Katsina State House of Assembly, Shamsuddin Dabai, and his son were taken away by abductors and are still in captivity 2 months after the incident. In his contribution, the lawmaker representing Damboa Goza Chibok Federal Constituency of Borno State, Ahmad Jaha, called on the federal government to engage mercenaries, noting that more advanced nations than Nigeria were doing same. You're listening to Global News on Memories 96.5 FM. More reports right after this break. Do stay with us. So far, the ANC is leading with 43%, followed by the Democratic Alliance, DA, with 26%. The Radical EFF and the MK Party of former President Jacob Zuma are on around 8%, with final results expected over the weekend. Opinion polls suggest that the ANC could lose its majority in parliament for the first time in 30 years, forcing it into a coalition. And still from the foreign scene in Papua New Guinea, aid agencies and foreign donors are concerned that unreliable estimates about the number of dead, injured and displaced people are complicating the international response following the disaster. Papua New Guinea has ruled out finding more survivors under the rubble of last week's massive landslide as the United Nations agency warned of a significant risk of disease outbreak among displaced residents who are yet to receive sufficient supplies of food and clean water. 6 days after a mountainside community in Enquiry province was buried in a sea of soil and debris, the United Nations Migration Agency said today that water sources had become tainted and the risk of disease was soaring. Much of the area's water flows through the landslide site, now a 600-meter-long graveyard of a still undetermined number of people, so much that for the past week, residents of villages affected by the landslide have been digging through countless tons of earth in search of buried relatives. Talking sports now, Greek club Olympiacos beat Fiorentina 1-0 after extra time in the Europa Conference League final yesterday to win the club's first major European trophy at the home of their domestic rivals, AEK Athens. In a match that was high on intensity and physicality but low on quality in front of goal, neither side could find the net in regulation time before Ayoub El Kabi netted the winner in the 116th minute. With the game seemingly headed to a penalty shootout, Moroccan striker El Kabi got in front of his marker to bundle in Santiago Head's cross but the players and fans had a long nervous wait for VAR to check for offside before the goal was awarded. The result marked the second consecutive defeat in the Europa Conference League final for Italian side Fiorentina, who had reached this season's summit clash without losing a single game. The closest the Greek club had previously come to winning a European trophy was in 1971 when Panathinaikos lost the European Cup final to Ajax. And that's it on Global News on Memories 96.5 FM. But before we go, another look at the main stars. In the news, you heard that President Bola Tinubu yesterday applauded himself after assessing his performance in the last 365 days, saying his government is walking the talk. We also told you that Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Moino has dedicated his one-year anniversary and the success of his administration to God for his goodness and for seeing him through 1 year in office. You also heard that the House of Representatives yesterday resolved to meet with President Bola Tinubu to find a solution to the worsening insecurity in the country. And from the foreign scene, we reported that South Africa has begun vote counting and result announcement after what seemed as the most closely fought elections since the African National Congress (ANC) came to power 30 years ago. And on the sports scene, Greek club Olympiacos beat Fiorentina 1-0 after extra time in the Europa Conference League final yesterday to win the club's first major European trophy at the home of their domestic rivals, AEK Athens. That's our news package this afternoon, as edited by Ofonise Abasi Johnson and assisted by the production team. For views regarding our news or coverage of your newsworthy events, you can reach us on email newsroom@memoriesmediang.com or call our Newsroom hotline on 0909 000 0581. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Memories965FM. And now let's take you down memory lane. On this day in 2012, Charles Taylor, former president of Liberia, was sentenced to 50 years in prison after being convicted of crimes against humanity and war crimes that were committed during Sierra Leone's civil war. That's the news. Thank you so much for listening. My name is NYAKNNO Albert. Good afternoon.